Okay, Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Today we try to look at one topic, Waqf institution and its roles in housing development in Malaysia, where lease, ijarah, or pajakan, where lease is used as a mode of financing. Okay. And okay. All right. So in Malaysia, let me just adjust the screen. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Right. So housing is an essential human needs, but not many people can afford a decent place to stay. And we know that everything that is essential in Arabic we call it daruriyat. So daruriyat is one of the maqasid syariah. Therefore, we need to preserve to maintain the needs for housing because it is part of the daruriyat, and it is always an important agenda of the government to provide the good housing, shelter, a place to stay for the people. Okay, so we have heard a lot of issues with regard to lack of housing in Malaysia. So in this topic, we try to see how Waqf institution has helped or can help the government, especially to provide good shelter, decent shelter for the people. Okay, so these are among the problem relating to Waqf, relating to housing development in Malaysia. Okay. So we are every day we hear people complaining about the prices for the houses, which are expensive. The young couple can't afford to even to buy low cost housing, and it is not only the prices but the commodity, the houses themselves are not sufficient, not enough supply of houses in Malaysia. Okay, so these are the common issues that we always hear. Okay, lack of supply of houses. And sometimes we also hear that, oh, there are houses. We have condominiums, unsold condominium, for example. We have unsold bungalow houses. So perhaps there are houses, but the people can't afford to buy because of the prices are expensive. So this is the situation where we call it there's a mismatch of supply. Okay, the developer of course prefer to provide high-end houses, houses with high price because they can get more benefit. They prefer condominium because condominium they can sell it at high price, and but they don't prefer to provide medium cost housing because definitely their profit will be less. And what more, even though the government make it part of the policy that perhaps 20% or 25% of their project must be of low cost, but they always try to avoid being imposed to construct low cost housing because they have to bear some of the cost. Okay, so this is among the reason why we have mismatch of supply. Okay, the majority of the people prefer to buy or can only afford to buy low cost and medium cost, whereas the developer, the contractor prefer to construct high-end houses in order to get more profit. Okay. Next is the issue with regard to housing loan. Okay, many financial institutions offer housing loan, but with not competitive what we call it interest rate. Okay, in the case of Islamic banking, so even though we use Islamic banking, still when we look at the markup price, the price are more or less the same with conventional banking facilities. So, and there are other requirements that the applicant has to fulfill, okay, which sometimes it requires some security for the loan, okay, and even the bank can only provide maybe up to 90% or 80% only from the cost price. In other words, the purchaser still need to find some money. They have to save some money to pay the deposit in order for them to buy their houses. And of course, we agree that the cost to build houses are also high. Okay, why? Because sometimes because of the contribution from the land prices. If the developer buy land at a high price, definitely they will put back the cost to the purchaser. Okay, and supply of material also one of the factors, okay, because they are monopoly among the supplier, and sometimes the supplier, the distributor use the middleman. So perhaps factory price is reasonable, but when come to the price in the market for the consumer, it's become high. All these prices will be put back to the price of the house. So at the end, prices of the house become high or expensive. And for planning for development of the houses, starting from the land. For example, if the developer buy agricultural land, then the developer has to bear the cost for the application to convert from agricultural land to building land before they can proceed with the development. If they buy land from various owners, let's say four owners, then they have to apply for amalgamation of the land, so that at the end the land office will issue the land under one title, then only the land can be developed. And of course, they are also subject to planning approval. There must be allocation of land for road, for drainage. So all these will be another extra cost that need to be borne by the developer. Okay, so they are subject to other laws like planning laws, environmental law. They have to fulfill the requirement for EIA that the land is fit for development, and there are other provision in land laws that they need to fulfill. Okay. So at the end, all this will contribute to the cost of the prices of housing in Malaysia. So with all this issue in our mind, how can Waqf institution help to provide a housing at a affordable price to the consumer? Okay, so originally you might have heard the term that Waqf asserted economic sector. So originally the government is the one who has the responsibility to provide facilities to the people. Okay, and there are many initiatives where the government also invite the private sectors to come to help the government to provide the facilities to the people. There will be incentive with regard to their tax, for example. Okay, and this is where Waqf institution, even though it is an institution which should provide free, it should be free from any tax, for example, but Waqf can also contribute. Okay, so one of the ways is that because we know that many Waqf authorities in Malaysia, that is the State Islamic Religious Council, that have um, many lots of land, Waqf land. So this Waqf land can be surveyed, can be assessed whether it can be developed to become a housing estate, so that we can provide affordable housing for the people. And of course, the Waqf institution would not be able to hold this responsibility alone, because they only have the land. Waqf institution may not have the capital to start the project. So it requires a concerted effort from other parties. They can joint venture with uh, established developer or with an institution that can afford to provide the capital for the development of the affordable housing. And of course, it is not an easy task. It requires awareness from the Waqf institution itself, because all this while they are so religious centric, because they always relate Waqf to the traditional activities, for mosque, for school. Okay, so there is a need for awareness among all the parties, among the developers, for example. Okay, and of course, again, there should be a high spirit of Waqf. Okay, high understanding of the concept of Waqf, to know actually the role of Waqf is not only to serve the needy, but we can go beyond that. Okay, and again, of course, it requires the experts that can plan, that can um, um, provide the good surroundings, okay, to support the um, institution of Waqf, so that at the end of the day, the objective to provide affordable housing to the people can be achieved. Okay, so who are the parties? Basically, as I mentioned earlier, it must be the State Islamic Religious Council, being the sole mutawali, being the trustee that has been entrusted to manage Waqf properties. And then the Waqif can play a role by creating Waqaf khas. Even though Waqif want to create Waqaf, but he can either specifically mention that it is for this the purpose of housing development, for example. Or of course, the best is that for the Waqif to make a Waqaf in their sirah that it is for Waqaf khairi, anything that can benefit the people. Therefore, that could be the intention of the Waqf. And then the beneficiaries also can contribute by getting a consensus among the beneficiaries that the land can be developed as Waqf land. It could also be the contribution from the ministries, involvement of the ministries. Okay, the ministries can support the State Islamic Religious Council by making what we call it less procedures involved. Okay, so that will require cooperation from the housing and the local government. Okay, and last but not least, of course, in order to make it possible, we need cooperation. We need effort from the financial institution. Okay, the financial institution must join in to be the party to provide the capital. Without the capital, Waqf land cannot be developed. Okay. Okay, having some knowledge about the problems, okay, having acknowledged all the problems revolving around the Waqf as well as the housing issues in Malaysia, we agree that something need to be done. Okay, so we have to start somewhere. Okay, first let us see what are the size of the and the value of Waqf land in Malaysia. Okay, so based on the statistic in 2016, we have more or less 11,091.82 hectares of land. It is in hectares, yeah. And out of this, we have about 4,000 plus of Waqf Am, and 6,000 plus, about 48% and 62%, or 40% and 60% of Waqf Khas, and 40% of Waqf Am. Okay, so from this figure, we know that okay, we have about 40% of Waqf Am. So this Waqf Am, of course, can be developed to be can be developed for housing development. For Waqf khas, of course, we know that it is the duty of the State Islamic Religious Council to realize the intention